So I don't fucking like it, right? Like, I don't care about the character of Abby very much in The Last of Us. But, like, I was reading an interview today, and to be fair, our boy Craig Mazin wasn't in this interview at all, but, like, they were talking about how they didn't have to get a muscle mommy for Abby, because in the game, Abby, you know, needed to be, like, physically distinct from Ellie. She was supposed to be, like, bulky or whatever, and they were like, well, in the show, you don't really have that because it's not a gameplay thing. And I'm like, okay, well, if you guys weren't going to get, like, a bulky person, like a bulked up, like, muscle mommy to play her, then why the fuck didn't you guys just get Laura Bailey? Like, and now, granted, this is not my Roman Empire. I'm not going to die on this hill because I don't care about this character in the first place. Correct. But it just seemed like a moronic decision to me. It's like, if you're not concerned with, like, the size of the character and, like, that kind of thing, then why not just get the actual voice actress?
We can go ahead and nip this conversation in the bud right quick. Like, the only reason why we have Abby in The Last of Us Part 2 as presented the way that she is, it's because Neil Druckmann has a very distinctive mommy kink with muscle mommies. It is very distinct with old Neil. He's got a thing, man. It's cool. I'm not going to be the one to judge. It's a little weird to make your players play as your kink, but I mean, you know, I guess if you're the one running the ship or operating the ship, then you can do what you want, you know?
I guess so.
Yeah. Are you hyped for Last of Us Season 2?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm hyped for the excellent performances of Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. I think there will be some watchable moments. I think we're unfortunately going to have to watch it because we're unfortunately going to review it.
That does mean we probably have to watch it.
Yeah. What do you think the odds are of a distinctive, like diversion from the game's plot?
It'll be a much bigger diversion than Season 1 was from Part 1, I think. And I think they'll do that because Craig Mazin and maybe even the executives at HBO, as much as they seem to love and adore Neil Druckmann, you can't ignore the fact that there was a distinct backlash when the game came out. And at the very least, you have to ask why. And maybe they just brushed it off and said it's just a bunch of angry people who are mad about nothing. Or maybe they looked into it and said, well, people had some serious concerns about the structural integrity of the story, about maybe certain pacing issues with it, about redundant location spots, and there could be a litany of things that maybe they looked into. But I'll be honest, man, I think they'll make more changes, but I think the primary change that we'll get is more Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you could just understand that Craig Mazin probably like walked into a room with like some charts in front of like the Warner Brothers people, and they were like, and he was like, okay, so yeah, the story pathing here happens, and like we're not going to do that because it's not satisfying for the player or the viewer in this case. He's like, as a matter of fact, I had a lot of slides here, and that's pretty much the case with all of them. And like he probably talked for about, I don't know, 30 minutes. And then there was like a silence in the room, and then like one of the Warner Brothers Discovery people, might be the CEO, I can't remember. What's his name?
Zaslav?
Yeah, David Zaslav was probably like, which of these changes puts more Pedro Pascal in the show? And
he goes back to slide number 1.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm glad you brought that up, actually. So right here, and I just imagine that's how the whole meeting went.
Yeah, and someone else raised their hand. So, does it have to be a golf club?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Can it be a chainsaw or
someone else? Does it have to be in the very first episode?
Yeah. Like,
can we maybe push that back to like episode 6?
I honestly believe that that is probably going to be the finale, is what I'm calling.
That would be a huge departure.
Yeah. I think it's going to be the finale when the big thing happens, because I think they want him for the season. I think we get a second season to really get to know more about Ellie and maybe experience more of her as a character and get attached to her. And then I don't care what they do. I think next season you're going to see a huge drop-off in viewership. Unless you just completely change it.
So you think they're going to take The Last of Us Part 2 game and split that into 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, maybe so. Because, I mean, obviously they want to do more seasons of the show, and they've said they don't want the show to overlap the games.
Well, Druckmann recently came out, like within the past week, and said that as of now, he doesn't know if there will even be a third game.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Part 3 is not going to be out before 2027.
If ever.
Yeah, if ever. So,
Yeah, I think that Druckmann, and I don't want to speak for the man. Like, I give him enough shit as is, a lot of which is deserved, but just the feel I get from him, I don't think that his heart was ever really into the video game market.
Right.
I think that he's right where he's always wanted to be.
Yeah. I just hope Craig Mazin can kind of, he's the proven commodity here.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any misses.
Right. Yeah. I like your idea, though. Like, if they do decide to split up The Last of Us Part 2, basically into 2 seasons of television, I think that's a great idea. One, it would allow the viewers to get to know Abby more, and it would feel less forced in a sense, because one of the big problems in the video game is that, no big spoilers right here for those of you who don't know what happens, but like there's a big thing that happens, and then you're kind of forced to play as a character who they know that you're not going to like, and then you play as this character for a very long time. And the whole idea is meant to be this kind of artsy, poetic type deal where when you go back to Ellie, there's this big confrontation now, and who do you root for? The problem is it doesn't really work if you think about it.
Right.
and you may not even have to think about it to realize that why this is kind of dumb and doesn't work. It's one of those cases where like the artistry of it overpowers any and all logic behind the decision making. So, I don't know.
It would be one thing if the game gave you as a player any level of choice, right? Because then you would actually get to decide. I actually think that both of the Last of Us games suffer from this. Mm-hmm. I actually think that they should have given you a choice in each game. Like, as Joel, to do what he does at the end of the first one. And also in the second game, as to like who you wanted to side with in that conflict. I think if they did that, we'd be talking about both of these games very differently.
Yeah, that is one kind of small thing that they could change to really kind of change the landscape of how people look at the games, especially the second one.
Yeah, because I mean, there's just nothing satisfying that comes out of it in the second game.
No, it really isn't. Like it's interesting, right? Because like just the nature of like more of a kind of gritty apocalypse, it's gonna be dark.
Yeah,
already.
Sure.
And the first one is still has this very dark and grim moments, but then it's highlighted with moments of kind of a blossoming relationship between a surrogate father and daughter figure. And, there's moments of it that where you really see kind of bright spots for a better future, maybe. And, just by viewing those two in their relationship. And the problem with the second game is that any and all premises are forced. Any and all characters are either idiots or assholes. And there are no bright spots in this game. And it's just all very bleak. And it just doesn't really hold up to the premise that it wants to do.
We've kind of talked at length about incompetence in characters. And most of the time, it's awful. Like, it's an easy way to write yourself into a couple of plot points. But at the end of the day, people don't really like watching incompetent characters.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
There's a couple examples, and we could do a whole fucking episode about this. But like Jack Sparrow is an example of that, right? Or like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Right? These are incompetent characters. It's kind of their stick, though. You know? Like, this is what they do. And it works in a very small amount of cases.
Yeah.
Or like the fucking, the wet bandits from Home Alone.
Right.
Like, but 9 times out of 10, man, people that like that kind of slapstick nonsense just doesn't cut it, especially in like a heavy drama. There's a time and place for it. And for the record, Jar Jar Binks works as a character. People fucking hated him. Like,
were they supposed to though?
I don't think they were supposed to hate Jar Jar.
Yeah. For the record, by the way, what you just said made me think of something and come to like a true realization, being able to put my own bias aside and just speak truthfully here. If the Wet Bandits attacked Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne is beating the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And so, there's always been this argument about like who wins with more prep time. This is one of those cases I don't think that Bruce would even need prep time.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the difference for sure. I mean, I don't know though, man. In the second movie, they turn out pretty bad.
They end up being they won't have that opportunity though. Is the problem? They're still recovering from.
Yeah, in the second movie, they kind of look like Bruce Wayne found them. They kind of look like they broke. Actually, you mean if Batman finds them out in the streets? Because if they break into Wayne Manor, Alfred is going to shoot them.
Alfred's going to kill them.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Alfred's just going to kill him.
Not to sidebar us even more, but that does remind me of a time that I don't even remember who the character was. Just some obscure character. I think it was just maybe for a one-off. But he does break into Wayne Manor, and he's looking for Bruce. Bruce isn't there. He's out being Batman, but Alfred is there. And the guy just sees this frail old man and says, and he's got I think he has a gun on him or something, but he goes, I'm looking for Bruce Wayne. And Alfred just goes, oh, I'm terribly sorry, but he isn't here right now. Can I get you something to drink? Would you like something to go? And the guy's like, no. I'm going to stay here, and you're going to tell me where Bruce Wayne is. And Alfred's like,
oh.
And then, like, because this guy doesn't know anything about Alfred, he underestimates him. Alfred pulls out a fucking gun, shoots this motherfucker point blank. He drops, hits the ground. The next panel, Alfred walks over the top of him, shoots him again, and then shoots him like 2 more times. And then grabs him by the legs and drags the body out of there. And then it pans over to like later on that evening. Bruce gets back and Alfred's like, oh, good evening, Master Wayne. I hope you trust everything went well. By the way, I had to shoot a motherfucker who was looking for you. Bruce is like, what? The kicker, though, is that, according to Alfred, he used rubber bullets to shoot this motherfucker. And, but he shot him like 4 or 5 times point blank. And Bruce was like, are you sure he's alive? And Alfred was like, don't concern yourself.
Yeah.
Long story short, don't fuck with Alfred.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. You'd be better off fucking with like one of the various trained ninjas who lived in the house.
Right, yeah.
At least you'll live.
At least most of them won't kill you. Well, Damien might kill you.
Yeah, he'll kill you.
Yeah. And in just the odd, chance that like Red Hood is there, he also will kill you.
He also will kill you. This is true.
But you're not really safe from him anywhere. Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, speaking of things that are about to get a season 2, our subject matter here tonight.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, proper introductions are in fact in order. So, homies, one and all, I would like to welcome you back to a very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I am here tonight joined by the man who was originally going to play Jar Jar Binks, but he turned it down.
I did.
Because he had prior obligations like school and whatnot, and said that he values his education more than being in some silly Star Wars movie.
I was like 12.
He was.
Actually, I probably have been like 10 or so when they filmed that.
He was very young. It was a very odd casting decision. But he is also the world's greatest co-host, the homie Caleb.
That's me. Here I'm is. And I'm very excited about today's topic. I'm happy to be here. I got some new Buc-ee's merch on. You know, life is good.
Some bussies?
No, it's Buc-ee's.
So I never understood. Winter Soldier retired from being an assassin, and then he opened up a chain of high-end gas stations. Yeah. I never found the correlation between Bucky and the Beaver.
Well, it's because the little animated beaver is to distract you from the fact that it's owned by a fucking Russian spy / assassin.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you gotta get a cozy mascot. It's kind of like how Mickey Mouse was there to cover for Walt Disney's anti-Semitism.
Oh yeah. See? That checks out.
See,
and they were both frozen.
Yeah. To various results. Yeah. But folks, today we are actually going to be talking about Andor. We made just some content. Andor Season 2 is coming up, and we realized that we had not properly talked about Season 1 yet. As a matter of fact, you hadn't even seen it.
Nope.
So we decided that we were going to review it. So right here today, we're going to be talking about the first half of Season 1. That's episodes 1 through 6. Probably full spoilers for the entire Star Wars timeline. We will not talk about episodes 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 here today. So that'll be coming in 2 weeks? Because we got Invincible next week, right?
Yep, Invincible next week.
So
and Andor Season 2 is April 22nd, right?
Yep. So
we got a little bit of time.
We got some time.
Yep. Well, with that being said, man, like you mentioned, I had never seen Andor, and I've been meaning to watch it for some time because I've heard so many people, yourself included, really hype this up as being something special.
Yeah. So what were your overall kind of thoughts on it, actually?
Yeah. So I've only seen the first 6 so far, and ironically, I think that like there was like a wave of like enjoyment and curiosity, and then kind of anticipation, but like not the anticipation of I can't wait, but anticipation and like I really need something to happen.
Yeah.
So episode, I mean, not that I'm like jumping right into them, but like in terms of my enjoyment, episode 1 I really dug because of the premise of it all, and again, I'm always down for something that is Star Wars themed but different in Star Wars nature.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars has a certain definitive tone to it, and while there's nothing wrong with that tone, it is fun to kind of veer out of that norm to do something different, and Andor is certainly that something different.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I really dug episode 1, and then what it did was it set up the premise, and I thought it was something that was interesting for me. Episode 2 really slowed things down and introduced more characters, and like it was not a bad episode, but I don't know if I personally would have chosen to do such a come down already from, the series premiere.
Right.
Episode 3 was kind of a bright spot for me. I dug it, and this was the proper introduction of Stellan Skarsgård, wasn't it?
Yeah, you see him a little bit before then, but this is actually one of the. So there's not very many scenes in the show, and this is, I guess, a mild spoiler for something that already happened. But there's not that many scenes in the show between Diego Luna and Stellan Skarsgård. And I really love this scene between them where you've got this and we'll get into it, but you have these two characters, and both of them are insanely paranoid because they have to be, just by the nature of what they do.
Yeah.
And you see them kind of peel their layers back as the conversation goes on. Like, there's this kind of moment where you can understand, like, Cassian's there just, I just want to get my credits and get the fuck out of here. Right. You know, dude, I don't know you. Like, you know, that you know, I don't know you, don't touch my purse. And, you know, there's this moment where he pauses, and then you can tell he just kind of lets it out about the Empire. Mm-hmm. You can see this change, this, like, tonal shift in him, where he's just like, the motherfuckers are so smug, they just let you just walk right in and take it all. You know, they just can't even imagine that somebody be ripping them off, you know. Right. And, like, when that happens with him, you actually see Luthen, one of the few times really in the show where he kind of lets his guard back a bit, and you have Luthen just kind of agree with him, you know, and he's just like, you know, it just makes you so angry, doesn't it? You know, and his character is notoriously, like, calm and collected and together, but like, that's one of the few times where you really get to see him just kind of explain himself.
Yeah. And again, not to jump ahead, but like, one thing I really loved about that scene, because that might have been my favorite scene in episode 3, but what I really dug about that scene was, it wasn't that they were both just paranoid, they were also desperate, both of them.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, time was of the essence.
Yeah, that's a great action scene, though.
Yeah.
Whoever choreographed that whole thing was great.
Episode 4, boy, episode 4 was new setting, new characters being introduced.
Yeah.
I did fall asleep during it, and I had to restart it.
Yep. Yeah.
And just by the nature of the show, I understand what they wanted to do, what they need to do. Again, new setting, new characters, and now we know what the game plan is loosely. But boy, it was a bit to get through. Episode 5, I really enjoyed, and episode 6 is the best of the season so far for me.
Yeah, 6 is the money shot. Like I said, it's I think the thing that 4 is missing is 4 and 2 kind of have the same problem, where they're trying to introduce all these moving pieces and all these characters, and they forget to just, like, the cast here is incredible, right? So much of the cast is just stellar. Yep. And they forget that you just put the camera on them and let them do their thing, you know, and we'll want to watch that. But it's when you start doing all this other nonsense and trying to introduce, obviously, like, minor characters and different things like that. And some of them are really good, you know, to varying results. But I think the number one complaint that even people like me that really enjoy this show, the homie Lauren is a big fan of this show as well. Even the biggest proponents I know of this show have been like, you know, out of those first 6 episodes, that probably could have been cut down to 4.
I agree.
Yeah, and I agree too. I actually think that my biggest complaint about this entire show is it probably could have been 10 episodes. Normally, I end up in the opposite complaint. I'm like, fuck, this would have been really great as 12 episodes. But this one, I think, if you had streamlined it to 10, I think it would flow a lot better.
You know, what's interesting about that is another show that we recently started reviewing is Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
And I think that one common complaint that you and I both had from, like, the Netflix series is that as much as we really enjoyed it, there were episodes, even in, like, the phenomenal seasons, that just feel like they were there because they had a 10 order episode. I mean, 10 order season or whatever. Yeah. And, man, let me tell you, the only difference between, like, you know, those, you know, extra unnecessary episodes in Daredevil and like these 2 episodes in Andor, so at least Matt got to beat up ninjas.
Yeah. Well, see, I think one of the reasons season 3 was so good is because one of those, like, filler episodes was all the Dex stuff.
Yeah.
And that stuff was so compelling.
It was, right, because it's hard for me to call a character development episode filler.
Right.
You know? It didn't really push the plot forward any bit. Man, it gave us a lot of insight into Dex.
Yeah.
And now, that's before he went splat off the roof.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
I think with this show too, like I obviously put down like our kind of point of view cast here for the most part. Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen. He's just immediately one of the most compelling Star Wars characters to me.
Luthen so far for me is definitely the most interesting character in the show.
Yeah. This show had a long way to go with me for Cassian because I'm going to tell you now, in Rogue One, I cheered when they blow them all up at the end. I don't give a fuck about not one of the Rebel characters in that show, or in that movie, really, other than Mon Mothma, and she's loosely involved, she's not in that movie very long.
Yeah.
I just don't, you know what I mean? I don't really love him as a character. I thought he was incredibly dry and kind of one-dimensional in Rogue One. But Diego Luna really pulls it out for me here. Like, I really enjoy watching him in this.
I don't know if I dislike his performance. I don't think I do. But I do need more from the character right now. He has the same energy that I do after like working a 12-hour shift. But like all the time. And I get it, man. I get it because like life under the Empire sucks.
Yeah.
Life for the common man sucks. And I think that maybe to a degree the show is trying to get us to resonate with that through him.
Yeah.
But he does also have his own motives. We know that he wants to find his sister. And this is something that's clearly very important to him. And then we also learn why he's so upset with the Empire and reasons beyond the normal person. But I guess like the issue is that in terms of his personality right now, aside from like being, this upset guy, I don't really know a whole lot about him yet. And I think that more of him starts to actually show for me in episodes like 5 and 6 a little bit. You start to see more of his temperament. And I'm like, okay, this is good because I really need to see this guy open up a little bit more. Pause.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Like I think you will get to see that. You'll get to see more of that. What do you think about Mon Mothma in this? She's in the later episodes a lot more than she's in the early ones.
When do we see her in the?
I don't think we see her until episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the first time we see her is when she comes to visit Luthen. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And then we see her again in like episode 5 and a little bit more in 6, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that she's playing the real risky game.
Yeah.
The riskiest of games. But I actually like her character right now. Like she's got a lot on her plate right now that she's trying to balance.
Yeah.
It's got to be, because like the things that she's doing right now is espionage to like the highest degree, and I'm like, one false move for her and that shit's gonna be fucking awful.
Yeah, I mean, we know Palpatine, right? We know what Palpatine's about.
I have heard of him.
She seems to also know what he's about. So interesting, kind of side note here about Genevieve O'Reilly. She actually was cast by George Lucas to play the character in episodes 2 and 3.
Oh.
But most of the scenes with her in them were cut from the final product. Like, apparently there's like over an hour that ended up being cut from Revenge of the Sith, which I'm like, fuck the Ayer cut. Release that cut. I want that. That's the cut I want to see. There's So she was cast in that. She filmed a bunch of scenes. She is in the movies as the character. I think she's in Revenge of the Sith as Mon Mothma. And then she ended up voicing the character for Rebels. And then she plays the character in all of its live action incarnations other than the original Return of the Jedi, obviously.
Yeah. I had no idea she had been in the role for so long.
Yeah. She plays the character in Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
Now in Clone Wars, there's actually a different voice actress that voices her. But other than that and Return of the Jedi, all the other instances of this character are her. It's Genevieve.
That's great. Yeah.
She was in, I'm going to say one of the other Star Wars shows maybe as well at some point. Maybe I'm just thinking about Rogue One though. Because there's nothing else from this time period, I don't think, that would make sense. So,
let me ask you this really quick. And this isn't anything disparaging about the show, but just out of curiosity, someone who has seen the entirety of the show, I think I already know the answer to this, but does this show justify its own existence?
Yeah, I think so. I think. Because at first, right, like, oh, it's just a backstory for Cassian Andor. Like, I don't care about that. I never cared about that. As a matter of fact, when the show was announced, I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, right? I was like, nobody's going to want to watch that. It's very similar to what happened with Marvel, right, where they came out and they were like, oh yeah, what kind of Disney Plus stuff do you guys got coming out? And they were like, oh well, we got Falcon and Winter Soldier here, and we were like, yeah. And then they were like, and we got WandaVision, and we were like,
all right.
I mean, if I don't got nothing else to do, and it kind of was the opposite. And Star Wars had a very similar thing with the Kenobi show, which was lackluster at best. And then you had this, which is like something I never thought I would care about. And it took me some time to get into it as well. I think those first 4 episodes in general, I think I struggled a little bit. It's like I felt like, to me, my experience watching it the first time through, episode 3 I thought was really strong. But other than that, I kind of struggled with it. And then we got into 5 and 6, and then it just kind of rolls after that. And I will say the back half is going to have a lot more of a steady pace than the front half. And I mean, obviously that's how you want it to be.
And just by how the plot unfolds, it seems like it would have to.
Oh yeah, because what happens in 6 literally kicks off the rebellion. I mean, everything. So I also want to talk, it probably is a little confusing to you as to why I put Deidre Miro as like one of our key characters. But I tried to get all of our like main point of view characters, and you're going to see a lot more of her in the back half.
I'm trying to remember which one that is.
She's the ISB officer. So the main two, well, there's 3 ISB officers that you really spend time with. There's Blevin, who's like the younger black guy who's Ferrix is like under his jurisdiction. And I believe it's in this half where she's questioning him about the Star Path module.
Okay.
And she's like, well, this is actually a naval part, so it falls under me. And then he's like, well, I'm not going to give it to you or whatever. And he's like, you're just going to have to run it up the ladder. And I think it might be in these 6 episodes where is it in these 6 where they're having the big meeting and he kind of like puts her on the spot in front of everyone? Has that happened yet?
I don't.
So probably not then.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's the kind of like the younger white lady. Seems like she's kind of newer to the ISB. And then you have is it Cartagaz? Is that his name? He's like the director of the ISB. He's the creepy ass doctor from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think I've. But would I also recognize? No, I think I would recognize him.
Oh, okay. He definitely has been in the first 6. Man. They have like a big white table. It's like a white room. He's like sitting at the head of it.
It gets to the point where all old white men look the same.
But no, he plays. Damn it, what's his name in Game of Thrones?
Yeah, he played the.
He's like the maester that got kicked out of whatever.
Yeah, I remember him. I don't know what it says about me, but like, I just remember being so upset because we got a gratuitous dick shot of that guy, and I'm like, that was so unnecessary.
Wait, no, it's not him.
Not him?
He's the one that got kicked out. He's the one.
The one that
ends up with Cersei.
Yeah, okay.
Is like Cersei's right hand.
He ends up making the Franken.
Qyburn.
Yeah.
Qyburn.
Yeah,
that's his name.
It. Okay.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I always called him not Gilgamesh. What's the name of the guy that made the Smurfs? But that's who I always reminded me of.
Yeah. No, so he is in it. I actually you haven't really got into it yet because the ISB's interest in this shit is like pretty minimal until what happens in episode 6. Mm-hmm. They start to take notice after that, though.
I fucking bet.
Yeah. And then also, I didn't put him in this section, but the other kind of character we follow around is Cyril, and he's the corporate guy that has like the most incel energy of any character you have ever seen.
Oh yeah, okay.
He really does. Like It's like holy shit, man.
Hey man, look, this motherfucker's determined.
That's true. I mean, short of getting Elon Musk to play him, I don't know. I don't know how you could cast this any better.
Holy shit.
But like if Cybertrucks existed,
this
guy would definitely have one.
For sure.
And would think it was awesome.
Yeah.
1,000,000%. So let's get into it, man. So this takes place 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, which if you're not a Star Wars nerd, that's the big battle where they blow up the Death Star in the original Star Wars movie. So our first 2 episodes here, we get Cassian. He's looking for his sister, and he's on Morlana 1, and he's at this. It's not really a sleazy bar. It's kind of like a higher end kind of scenario. And he's asking around about his sister, and he kind of draws the attention of 2 of these kind of assholes, and they're considered corporate, which in this era of the Empire, it's kind of like you had the Empire at the top, and they handled all the important shit, and then anything that was kind of like minor league, you had the corporate people. And this is kind of like this is kind of like them just trying to make it seem like the Empire doesn't have absolute control over everything, but in reality, all the corporate people just answer to the Empire.
Right.
So these guys end up fucking around, and they find out, and Cassian kills them. And he immediately flees back to Ferrex, and we get introduced to Bix, who we don't really get a ton of time with her, but we get enough to figure out that number one, you can tell that there's this attraction between her and Cassian. They have a good like relationship or whatever. They're obviously not like dating because Bix has a boyfriend whose name should be Todd. But his name's actually Tim.
With 2 M's.
With
so
2
M's. The same number of letters.
It's got the same cadence, as a Todd. He's got Todd energy, and he's a snitch.
He's
a dirty snitch.
Yeah. And, like, you can tell, like, right off the bat, I was like, man, I don't trust this motherfucker here at all.
Yeah, no, immediately, yeah.
Something about him, yeah.
But, in this first episode, he convinces Bix to find him a buyer for his Star Path unit that he's got, and this is this Imperial technology that he's stolen that just everybody ain't supposed to have. And then we have Cyril, who basically his boss is like, hey, so 2 people got killed. And Cyril's like, yeah, we're going to investigate this, right? And he's like, no.
Nah. They antagonized this guy, and, it was, like the amount of effort he puts into not doing that job is commendable.
Yeah, sounds like they antagonized this dude and got what they deserve, which that is what happened.
That is what happened. So he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but there's no way that he knows that.
Yeah.
But he's basically like, I got to give my quarterly report, and like having 2 of my employees murdered is not going to be on it. And so especially because like they were not supposed to be. I think they were on duty at this bar and like weren't supposed to be there.
Oh wow, yeah, they're trying to get their dicks wet.
Yeah, on the clock.
Yeah, on the clock. I mean, hey man, listen, if you can get paid to get your dick wet, then
by all means.
Yeah,
by all means.
Yeah, no, but this Cyril guy, he's
a real piece of shit.
Yeah, man, and it's like it's almost to the point where I don't really want to blame him because I think that he is definitely somewhere on the spectrum towards like an end.
Yeah. He's on a spectrum and he's not in the middle.
Yeah.
This dude is immediately like just can't accept that or whatever, and he's like got to get to the bottom of it. And honestly, he's pretty good detective because he tracks down Cassian back to Ferrix in basically no time.
Oh yeah,
it's real quick.
Yeah, and it's quite impressive. Did we already mention he a snitch ass nigga? Did we already mention that?
Cyril or Todd?
Both.
Tim.
Both. Because like he ends up like, doesn't he sell? Well, he doesn't sell out his higher up, but he don't defend him either.
He basically doesn't say. I don't think he tells him anything.
Yeah.
Like the dude goes off to give his report, and he's like, "I'm gonna get a squad together and go arrest Cassian." Yeah, and that's basically what happens. I'll be honest. This is about the time where the episode kind of draws to a close, and we start to get the Kenari flashbacks. I gotta be honest, man. If you're gonna cut something from the show, it would have been all of that for me. Like, I get the reason that they showed it. They wanted to show like how Marva found him,
right?
But I can't remember the name of the actress that plays Marva, but she's incredible. She absolutely kills it. There's a scene of in the second half that she damn near steals the whole show. I can't wait for you to get to it. But she's so good, and I feel like you could have just found a way to have her exposit some of this. I know we typically are very big on like show don't tell, but I think for the sake of like the pacing, I think she could say something like such and such, I found you in that pod or whatever.
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah.
It's like I appreciate the effort, and I know what you guys are doing here with these flashback scenes, but it really does just kind of slow things down
a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when it's like you have the whole episode, and then you just put this at the end.
Yeah. And
like you're using it as like a bookend for this episode, but it's like I want to know what's happening with the murder and the investigation and the thievery and all this other stuff.
Unless something absolutely batshit crazy happens that like I just don't see coming in those flashbacks, then we can probably just either surmise it or to put it in the form of exposition.
And they also could have done it, I think, in just one flashback.
Yeah.
I think for me, honestly, I might would have waited. I might would have just referenced the events of all of that and then maybe opened the very last episode of the season with the flashback and then actually show you this is what really happened. And you could have done it in maybe 6 minutes, you know?
Yep.
But they give us a flashback in episode 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And by the time it comes into 2, you're like, is something really important going to...
we're just picking back up kind of where we left off.
We're just here, It's like... Well, like they found him in the thing, and we assume they're going to take. Okay,
all right. You know what? Y'all, clearly you already paid these actors. So.
So let's let them act. So yeah, man. Into episode 2, we got. This is where we get Todd/Tim being a snitch.
Surprise! Some motherfucking prize.
So the warrant comes out. And he immediately like radios to Morlana 1, like, "Oh yeah, this motherfucker's here."
Can't believe I'm doing this. In Tim Todd's defense,
not Tim Todd.
If I'm Tim Todd, I don't like Cassian.
Right, because obviously your girl has a thing for him.
Yeah, and if there's like a legal, somewhat morally upright way to get you out the picture, I might take it. if I was Tim Todd.
If you were Tim Todd.
But I'm not.
Would you not? And I don't get me wrong, Bix is fine. Like, I get it. I get it. But this was unnecessary.
It was.
And like there's nothing moral about this. These are dirty motherfuckers.
Well, you know what? It is considered the legally correct thing to do in the situation.
Oh, okay.
Again, this is what I would be thinking if I was Tim Todd.
If you were Tim Todd. Yeah. But yeah. I operate under the firm we don't snitch policy. I didn't see nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So
did he even get a reward for it?
He got a blaster bolt to the chest.
Is
that a reward?
And that's the other thing, man. If I die snitching on if I die from snitching on my girl's side piece and I die, bitch, you better at least cry for me.
Yeah, no.
I need at least 2 tears.
No, she was like, "How dare you?"
Yeah, she gave like a lazy reach out.
Yeah,
and then
a Titanic, if you will.
Yeah, and then they easily just come on, escorted her away.
Act like you're holding me back. Yeah. So at this point, B informs Cassian and Marva of the warrant that's out for him, and Cassian starts getting ready to leave. What do you think about B?
The droid?
Yeah.
I kind of like B.
I do too. Yeah, he's like a little depressed Eeyore droid.
Yeah, and he is, man. And it's like y'all probably need to get him checked on or something.
Yeah, like a tune-up or
he needs something.
Okay,
maybe malware.
Yeah, maybe he needs like a spy bot clean or something. Yeah, he definitely has been through some shit, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's always been interesting to me. Like that's always been one of the strengths of Star Wars is like their ability to put so much personality into a droid. Sometimes more than the characters have.
Yeah, which is weird, right?
Shout out to you, BB-8.
Yeah, I mean, he had more personality than
at the cast. Right. I just want to point out that nobody like fuck the sequel trilogy, right? But like nobody ever points any of that shit at BB-8. Like,
that's true.
It's like, you like BB-8? Yeah, BB-8 is cool, man. Yeah, he's funny,
Yeah.
But what about the sequel trilogy? Oh no. No, he's completely clean on that shit. He's completely unscathed.
Yeah. It's because he's a ball sitting on top of another ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like that shit geometrically doesn't make any sense.
It's just not
from a physics level or anything.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Like I remember when Neil deGrasse Tyson pissed me off talking about. Yeah, I don't really care for those movies either. It doesn't make sense that he was able to roll on sand like that because the geometry of this. Like, shut up, Neil.
Yeah, come on,
the time for this.
This ain't your time. This is not your time.
I don't care if you can't slide on sand.
And also at this point, I think we've only maybe seen like a very little bit of Luthen. Like we just see him in the ship, right?
Yeah, basically.
And he's getting ready to head there. We just kind of know him as the buyer at this point.
Well, I'll tell you this much, man. I wish I had seen this before I saw Dune 2 because I was like, I just don't think that you should be talking to him, Cassian. He is secretly an evil slug, man.
Well, he was an evil slug man in Dune 1.
Well, I mean, yeah. But,
okay.
But I saw both Dunes.
Before you saw this. Yeah. I guess my most recent thing I saw him in was Chernobyl, and that's not really that far.
Oh, yeah. See, I saw Chernobyl first.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a similar character to his Chernobyl character, and it's just not Russian.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And instead of like a nuclear reactor, is Cassian Andor that he gets tangled up with. Jesus. And I'll be honest, man, I'm not really sure which one I want to interact with least, to be honest, just because like trouble follows this motherfucker around.
It absolutely does follow Cassian around, but here's the thing. I'd rather deal with the consequences of that I think, than melting.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
it depends on how much exposure you had. Like those people that went under into the water, they're still alive today. They're fine. But Cassian and all his friends, as we know, spoiler for Rogue One, they get motherfucking incinerated.
That's true.
Like the whole planet.
Death does follow him, like he's John Cena at a Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, yeah. The Grim Reaper himself.
Yeah, the Grim Reaper himself.
It's like, man, you thought you just had a cold, and then here comes John Cena with an Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, guys, if you ever find yourself being able to see John Cena, that means your end is near.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So yeah, man, that's our first 2 episodes, and I really think that this is one of those areas where you condense this into 1 episode for me, for the pacing.
I agree. I think episode 1 was right at like 53 minutes. I think, man, you can do the thing where you make episode 1 an hour and 20, but you condense 1 and 2 into that hour and 20.
Yeah. Episode 3, man, going into this one, we get a nice jolt to the system. Mm-hmm. Because not only is this our first big like action set piece, which that's something that we haven't really talked about yet. Is like the set pieces here are gorgeous. Like
what I really love about, honestly, not just Andor, but Mandalorian did a pretty good job with this too, is that the world feels lived in.
Yes,
in a lot of more like bigger Star Wars pieces, everything feels so clean, and so sterile. But here, like, there's dirt and there's grime and there's traces of people having lived, you know. And I really dig that little touch.
One of the things that like fans of the like, there's a contingent of the Star Wars fandom that hates the special editions of the original movies, right? And don't get me wrong, there's a couple things that I could live without. But nothing that's going to make me go and seek out like the original version, right? Mm-hmm. Especially because a lot of the effects in that movie are terrible. Especially like when they have the big moment at the end where they blow up the Death Star and it's literally a firecracker in front of a black blanket. Yeah. And it just kind of, and it's like anticlimactic as hell. But I guess it was amazing back then.
Yeah, back in what was it, 78?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But so in Cloud City, in the second movie, in the original versions, there's no windows behind them. So like all those shots that you see of Princess Leia and like Lando talking and all this other stuff, and you have like all these epic buildings in the background, and there's a ship flying across the world. None of that shit's in the OG theatrical.
Oh,
yeah,
shit. Those
are just blank walls. It's like we flew to Cloud City and now we're in this room. Yeah,
damn.
Yeah,
yeah. See, like those are the only versions that like I know because I didn't watch Star Wars until I was 21, 22, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I've seen the OGs.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember going to the theater to watch the special editions when they came out. Yeah.
So. That was right before the prequel trilogies, right?
Yeah, that was in like the 90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was a cool thing, man. I remember seeing all of those in theaters and like just all the different stuff that they added to them and like just that experience of like seeing Star Wars in the theater for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, there's just nothing like that. But yeah, man, a lot of those, that's like one of the best examples to me of like, this is something where in the original, they really didn't even have the tech to do what they were trying to do. And yeah, Cloud City just felt like all the rooms were like dark and they just kind of, it was just like, this is not the planet you guys flew to. Yeah. Like, Ralph McQuarrie did all of the original artwork for all of that stuff, and they actually used his designs for all those backdrops and everything because the stuff he was drawing, a lot of it, they just couldn't make it happen and bring it to life. So,
man, something else I got to say about Andor. It's kind of a small thing that I really appreciate. Is that they made like typical blasters intimidating again.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, these can kill people, huh?
Yeah. Because you gotta think, man, in like the original trilogy, for the most part, the only person who was like actually fuck you up with a blaster was Han Solo. Mm-hmm. If anybody else shot at you, you probably were okay.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? Like, if you were a named character, then you had the ability to shoot somebody fatally, even with a blaster. If you were just some guy, nah,
you might as well be unarmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a really good job with a lot of it, man. Another thing I really appreciate about this show is we talked about this off mic a little bit, is the dialogue is so different than what we get in like 90% of Star Wars, because a lot of times when you see these characters sit down and have a conversation, it feels like a real conversation that two characters might have.
Yeah.
You know? I think we can get into that a little more in a minute. But I want to talk about the arrest. They hugely botched this, right? He teams up with Linus Mosk, and they arrive to make the arrest. Yeah, man, how would you say this goes for the corporate guys?
Dog, yeah, like to call this a botch is a severe understatement.
Big Mackey must have been busy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this thing gets botched every which way, dog.
Yeah.
Like,
the residents also completely, that shit where they like hooked up that big ass piece of scrap to their shuttle or whatever.
Yeah. And old buddy tries to take off, and I was like, I see why you did it, but I feel like there was another way.
I think the locals on Ferrex are not big fans of the Empire.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that feeling, you know.
And they do such a good job with this, too, because you can... It's very rare in Star Wars you get to kind of see the blue-collar, like, everyday people of the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And when you do, it's almost always some random fucking person on Tatooine that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know? Like, yeah, I got a auto mechanic shop here on Tatooine.
Right.
What? Why?
Why didn't Cassian kill Cyril?
I don't think Cassian was out to, like, murder all of them, you know?
Yeah, so I do understand that.
I also think he realized that this dude is not a threat to him.
If you are actively hunting me, and I've already, because I killed two of your constituents, I might have reason to add another to the list, is all I'm saying.
That's true.
You know? It's interesting to me, like, to watch Cassian decide on who lives and who dies.
Yeah.
He has a very interesting sense of morality.
He is certainly not our typical protagonist.
No.
I think with Cassian, it's very much a situation where it's like he's seen how the universe takes, and he understands that that's all he's going to have is what he takes. Mm-hmm. I think he has a sense of morality. I don't think we ever see him just cold-blooded do anything harmful to another person for no reason, right? It's usually for his own survival most of the time. So we really don't see, like, he's not meant to be this, like, super morally upright character.
Yeah.
You know? But as far as, like, not killing Cyril, to me, what I've always gotten out of that is, like, I think Cassian realized that he was in charge, and I think he just wanted to embarrass him. I think he realized that would have been worse. Because it was. I mean, and you can even tell when they were, like, planning to land. It's like the Linus, the guy that's with them, like the kind of tough captain guy.
Yeah.
You could tell he's like a career policeman type person, and all his men trust him, and all this other stuff. He's like a Vic Mackey type. I don't know if he's like that, but you know what I mean. But he's got that kind of energy to him, and you could tell they just don't fucking respect Cyril at all.
Yeah.
Especially when he tries to give the Captain America speech.
Oh, yeah.
And then rolls the one.
Rolls a nat fucking one. Oh, that was awkward.
It was so awful. He's just like, all right, man, so it's really important that we get the thing done. And
there is a criminal on the loose.
Yes. And we must apprehend him.
With the utmost efficiency.
You can just tell Cyril's just this self-important person. Yeah. But then when it's time to actually do the thing that he's supposed to do, he's just so awkward and doesn't actually know what he's doing.
Yeah, because he was definitely the kid in school who reminded the teacher that we have homework.
Yeah.
That was him.
100%. Yeah, you were 2 minutes from the bell ringing, and he was just like, "Are you gonna take our homework?"
Motherfucker.
Yeah. And then he probably got an F.
Oh shit.
But while all this is happening, while they're planning their siege on Ferrix that goes super terribly, we're getting the conversation with Cassian and Luthen. Where Cassian thinks he's just there to sell this Star Path unit.
Yeah.
But Luthen is aware of the warrant. He's aware that they're coming to get him. And he's done his research on Cassian. And he's like, I don't want to burn an asset this good. I know, especially because Luthen knows he's desperate. Mm-hmm. So he's like, well, either I leave him here and he gets himself killed, I let him go and he identifies me, or I take him with me. Yeah. And he helps me pull off this shit that I'm planning. And like I said, I just love this conversation between the two of them in this abandoned factory.
Yeah.
Where they both really reveal their motivations. I don't know that we ever get an in-depth on Luthen, why he really fucking hates the Empire. But because of how good Stellan plays the character, we really don't even need it.
Yeah.
You know that there's just something in there where he just despises everything about the Empire.
Yeah, and you can really buy it with him,
Oh yeah.
You can really believe it. And it's like we were saying earlier, you can tell that they're both just so desperate, and they both really they're both really paranoid as well, and time is running out, and Luthen, he really needs Cassian to make a decision.
Yeah,
because we gotta go.
We gotta go now.
Yeah,
I love the shit where he's like, they're out front, and Cassian's just like, okay. He's like, yeah, I put blast traps on the doors. Fucking win, and then he blows them up.
Yeah,
on my way in, you didn't. I like how he's teaching them, as they go. You can just tell he's been at this shit a long ass time.
Right.
These first 6 episodes, you don't ever get to see his ship, right? Luthen's ship, you don't actually get to see it
from the outside.
Yeah.
I don't believe so. No,
I think Cassian makes a comment where he's like, yeah. What kind of ship is this? And he says it. He's like, I never seen one do that or whatever.
He does say that in episode 3.
Yeah, he definitely has this ship really souped up.
Yeah,
it's a really cool thing. So
yeah, it seems it.
Yeah, he ain't riding around in no junker.
Right. Yeah,
he didn't find this shit on Jakku in the scrapyard.
I was gonna say, this ain't no Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, no. This ain't this is better than the Millennium Falcon when Lando owned it. Yeah. And it was actually taken care of.
It's being an adult is realizing the Millennium Falcon is your old uncle's 1978 Cadillac Coupe de Ville.
Yeah.
In that he swears it's still, just the bee's knees.
Yeah.
But in reality it's it was good back in '78.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. That like silly sort of Star Wars versus Star Trek shit where people be like, "Oh, who would win out of the USS Enterprise and the Millennium Falcon?" It's like, dog, you're talking about like a fucking. This is literally like a military like naval battleship versus like your weed dealer's van.
Right. Just because your weed dealer thinks he knows how to drive real good doesn't mean he stands a chance.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that like this like abandoned orphan on a random planet can both fly and engineer the thing at the same time.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get a little bit more of the Kenari flashbacks here. We got a little more. We get to see a little bit of Clem, which is, I guess, Cassian's sort of. He was Marva's like partner, so it's kind of like Cassian's like father figure.
Yeah, we don't really get a whole lot about that yet, do we? At this point,
we don't see a whole lot of him yet, but we do see a little bit of him in those flashbacks, and it does explain like that's why he gave that name to them. So. The end of this episode is just a breathtaking series of action sequences where we get to see the corporate guys just get obliterated.
Oh yeah,
and
they just get so outsmarted like at every turn,
Yeah, them sending the fake speeder out and they chase it down and then they blow it up and like half of them get killed. I mean,
and again, it's like I understand why you did it, but dog.
Yeah, Luthen is a lot less subjective than Cassian because we actually do see Luthen kill people that he didn't have to kill in a lot of instances. Like, he is like, fuck every single one of these people. Every single one.
Because fuck them.
Because fuck them, that's why. So, yeah, man. So, we get this this kind of epic decision here where he very reluctantly goes with Luthen. And in the next episode, we pick right up with Luthen taking Cassian to Aldhani. And he doesn't really tell him what it's about. The interesting thing here, and I really hope we get some more on this in season 2, is Luthen gives him a kyber crystal. Yeah. Which is insanely rare at this point, right? And he talks about, and I don't know, man, if it's probably like illegal to even have one. I would imagine, because I can't imagine Palpatine just letting people have that shit.
Yeah, I mean, even though by itself you can't really do much with it, right?
Yeah, it's just like a thing you could sell for a fuck ton because it's so rare. And he just says, I think he says like, don't take less than 20,000 for it. Or I think
he said don't take less than 50.
50,000. Yeah. So, but he's like, I want it back when this is over, and so like it means more to me than anything. And I really I want to know more about this thing.
Okay, so I was wondering like if that shoe drops this season or not.
Yes. Well, you've seen the end of the heist episode, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he give it?
He gives it back.
He gives it back. Yeah.
He gives it to
to Vel.
To Vel, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so I mean, but in terms of like why this is so important to Luthen.
Yes, I that does not happen in season 1.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for season 2.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we get a lot more Luthen in general in season 2. Honestly, I'm kind of concerned because season 2 is supposed to take us all the way up to the beginning of Rogue One.
Right.
And they got like 4 years to cover. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume. Well, I don't know where season 1 ends yet, but I assume there's probably going to be a pretty big time jump.
Yeah, but there's not a big one in season 1. I think at most it's probably a few months. So
yeah.
So Luthen takes him to Aldhani, and we get to meet Vel, who is the leader of the rebel group here. This is another Game of Thrones alumni.
Who was she?
She was the waif. She, the person who trained Arya, and like eventually tried to kill her.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's her.
I didn't even recognize her here.
Yeah. Well, she's such a very different character here.
Oh yeah.
And I actually really like her character in this show. She was very intriguing to me. I thought she did a good job. And this is kind of where we get introduced to the other rebels. And as she's walking with Cassian, she's kind of explaining everything like, hey, you don't mention Luthen. This was my idea. And you kind of get the idea that they are not going to be very receptive of him.
And then also, like, they didn't explicitly say it here yet, but, like, I started to put some context clues together, and I was like, I don't think anyone else is getting paid.
Yeah, I think it's just him. Yeah. And you got to love that shit.
Right.
That's always worked out well, when only one person on the job is getting paid.
Right. And 200,000 at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is actually where we get our meeting with Luthen and Mon Mothma.
Yeah, you're right. Because, that is in episode 4.
Yeah, we see him leave. Yep. He's on the ship. We see him transform into his, like, NPC merchant personality, which was... I kind of love that thing where he does in the mirror, where he kind of just does the little pose, and then he just is on. Like, he instantly changes, and you could just tell he's been doing this double life shit for a while.
It's a great front.
It is, yeah. Yeah, that he deals in, like, these antiquities or whatever, because... it lets him be in contact with all these different, people, and it's not suspicious.
Yeah, he deals with these antiquities, but he doesn't deal in absolutes.
No, because he's not Isaiah.
I get one. Wait, wrong. There we go.
Okay. Because you definitely don't get the cheer. But it's interesting, right? The relationship between him and Mon Mothma. And they never explicitly say this, but I kind of get this idea that, like, Luthen got his hooks in her. You know what I mean? Like, I think...
Oh, you think that he maybe somehow turned her?
Yeah, I think that she was always disgruntled with, because even in the days before Revenge of the Sith, she was very much against, like, all the extra powers that they were given Palpatine and everything. And she's always been very much about democracy. And I think he probably saw that, or she had like a reputation for that. And he was like, hey, this girl rich,
Right.
And I think that he probably has pulled her into much more of a situation that she's uncomfortable with. Like, I think she's completely fine speaking out against the imperial tyranny in the Senate. I think she's probably fine with, giving charitable contributions to these groups that are, disproportionately hurt by the Empire. I think that's it.
Yeah.
I don't think funding a rebellion was her idea. I don't think blowing shit up was her idea.
Yeah, but it's like she in too deep now anyway.
Yeah. I don't think straight up terrorism was her idea.
Right.
Yeah, like, she'll post memes on the internet, but she ain't trying to go January 6th on nobody.
Yeah.
But here, you could just tell she's so uncomfortable with this, and she also alludes to that she suspects her driver is like an ISB agent because he got miraculously replaced or whatever. Right. And that they're kind of watching everybody. Yeah. And
that would make you even more nervous in those situations.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, like, Luthen, his cover is so good that, like, unless you're just looking for it, you won't see anything suspicious.
No, and he even... they even do the whole thing where he's like, well, if he doesn't like this piece, bring it back and you can take this one, which gives her a reason to come back. Right. And
because they do this whole, song and dance about him explaining another piece out there in the front that has, it's just putting on a show.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so well done. Yeah. He really kills this role, and I love it.
Yeah.
And I think this is right around the time we find out that Cyril and all the people involved basically got fired. They all got let go.
Yep.
And I think this is also the first time that we see Dedra Miro with the ISB. I think when she's questioning about the Star Path unit.
Okay, yeah.
Being found there. Because that would like put it under her jurisdiction or whatever. This might surprise you, man, but I actually I really dig the ISB storyline in this.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It actually gets really good.
Okay.
So
is this the same time that we see Cyril go back to live with his mom or whatever?
I think that's like the next episode. Okay. I think that happens in 5.
Okay.
Yeah, and his mom is just...
Yeah.
You can kind of understand why he might be a little... Because his mom is just overbearing and awful.
Yeah.
You know?
She is.
Yeah, she definitely dressed him even when he was like in high school.
Why don't you wear that cardigan I got for you?
Yeah. It's awful.
You look so nice in it.
Yeah. You just I hate you.
Do you still have those slacks I got you last holiday?
Yeah. Yeah. You never wear those yellow socks that I got you. You should wear the yellow socks, Cyril.
You know, I heard that Tina's daughter is single again.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Don't set her up with Cyril.
Right.
Yeah, so the next, in 5, 5 is where the anticipation is really starting to gather. Because, like, we don't 100% know quite yet what they're doing on Aldhani.
Yeah.
We just know that it's the place. And that's where whatever is going down.
Yeah, they at a certain point in episode 5, they allude to something called the Eye and how like everyone kind of wants to see it, you know, and witness it. I'm like, the fuck is that?
Yeah,
you know. But then we see it's like a super sexy meteor shower.
Well, we also find out like what the plan is here is that they're going to rip off the payroll for an entire Imperial sector.
And I think it's in episode 6 they say that it's like 80 million.
Yeah.
God damn.
It's like 80 million credits.
Yeah, and it just kind of blows my mind because, you know, not to jump ahead here, but when Cassian is like, yeah, I'm going to take my share. You sure that's all you want to take?
Yeah, I mean,
how much can you get?
Yeah, like just one of those roles, you know. That's probably right.
Yeah.
Although I guess you can't really be seen walking around with
that's true.
One of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I want to say that what was it for the Star Path unit? It was going to be like 15,000.
Yeah.
And that was going to be like enough to get him and Marva and B off the planet.
Yeah.
And like they were going to be good for a while. And they stole 80 million.
And they stole 80 million. God damn. I'll be honest here. I was very surprised here, like because like I said earlier, I really enjoyed episode 5. I was not expecting episode 6 to be the heist, though. I get just because the way that the previous episodes were paced, I was like, we might ride this thing out until
the heist will be episode 12. Oh God, I would be so upset. No, I love all of this stuff. Like, I really like his interactions with the different people in the Rebel group.
Yeah.
You know, leading up to the point where he finally like. Because what's the guy's name that's really... Skeen is the guy that's really like suspicious of him. Which, by the way, old Skeen is the Thing.
That's the actor that's playing Ben Grimm?
Yeah, same guy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me triple check that.
I think you're right. Eben Moss?
Eben Moss something or another.
Now that you say it, I see it now. Not in the orange form, obviously, but like wow, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely in it. It's weird, man, to me also that whenever you go on IMDb to Andor, like Alan Tudyk is listed as...
Yeah, who is he? Because I saw him on like on the casting.
Yeah, he's the same person he was in Rogue One. He's B2. He's the big asteroid that he's got with him. Like, Cassian does not meet that B2 unit in this show. Like, there is one, and he does voice them for all of 8 seconds. But like you go on IMDb and you would just think that he's like all over the whole show.
I remember when WandaVision came out, underneath the casting, they had James Spader. And I was like, what?
Is Ultron going to be in this shit?
Spoiler alert, he was not.
Right. Yeah. Evan Moss Backrack.
Damn.
Yeah. So he's the Thing in Fantastic Four.
Well, hopefully he's less of a piece of shit in that than he is here.
Yeah, like honestly, early on, you don't. You're kind of like, he's just protecting the mission. Because I actually really love, even though they're all pretty minor here, I really love the variety of people that's on this mission and like how they each have their grief, like with the Empire, right? Yeah. Like Nemec is this like young kid who's just like so philosophical, and he's got this whole manifesto, and he's like so against, just the kind of concept of the Empire. And then for Skeen, what we understand from him, or at least what he says, is a much more personal, like what happened to his brother or whatever. Cinta is a cold ass bitch. You do not want to mess with her.
Yeah, they kind of allude to that.
Yeah, under any circumstances. Yeah. And you'll see. And then Vel is also like really good as like kind of the leader of this group, I think. And I think she really understands what it's going to take to like keep everybody's eye on the prize here. We don't get a lot of Terriman, unfortunately. It seems like he's probably got something more going on. But Cassian is immediately like, how the fuck are we going to take on a garrison? Would you like to explain that part? Can we skip to that? And around that time is where we meet Lieutenant Gorn. And I actually really love his character, man. This idea of like him being an Imperial officer, and he just has to sit there every day knowing that his job is immoral as fuck, watching the people above him treat the people below him like shit, and knowing that the people below him are then in turn treating the locals like shit.
Right.
And just, I think knowing that he's this cog in this, like, not only that he's an instrumental cog, he's just an inconsequential cog in this giant death machine.
You can be replaced tomorrow, dog, and nothing really changed that much.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you're not the Joker. You're, like, one of the fucking henchmen that, like, he's going to shoot, probably, while he's getting away from Batman.
Because it'd be funny.
Yeah, yeah. And I love this. We don't really get to see a whole lot in Star Wars of, like, the idea of, like, an Imperial defector.
Right.
The closest thing we really got to that, well, was Finn, whose storyline they completely botched.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But we get it here, and basically... he's going to be their ticket. He knows how the garrison works, where everybody's going to be at, and he can even, finagle things so that people are not in certain spots, and it won't seem suspicious at all, you know. I especially love how he's like, it comes to like, I think there's like a wall or something that needs to be painted, and he's like, yeah, you guys are going to have to do that overtime or whatever. And they're like, oh, we were really hoping to see the eye. You don't want to be stationed here, whatever. He's like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. All right, well, I want the whole base cleared. You guys can all go down there and enjoy the thing, Yeah. So it's just very smooth how he goes about, facilitating the heist.
It is, yeah. I really like this character because, like, he's a convincing hard ass, but at the same time, he's up to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So then, we get the heist. Well, I guess before we get into that, we also find out that ISB officer Blevin has essentially moved in on Ferrix. Like, the Empire is basically taking over the hotel on Ferrix, and they're trying to kind of like crack down on everything, and they're still looking for Cassian.
Yeah.
And Luthen. They don't know anything about Luthen, but they're looking for Cassian and his conspirator.
Yeah. Associate,
yeah.
Episode 5, isn't that also where we get the scene where Skeen takes the kyber crystal from
Cassian.
And then Cassian's finally like, all right, man, look, I'm getting paid.
Yeah. Yep. I'm getting paid.
Like, motherfucker.
And Nemec's reaction to that was so priceless, because he's just very much into like talking to Cassian about like why he's there and like the philosophical nature of it. And I think out of all of them, he understands the least. When Cassian's like, "I'm getting paid to be here," and they're just like, "You brought in a fucking mercenary at the last second." It's a good thing they did bring him in.
Oh yeah, yeah, because it was earlier in that episode when they were trying to figure out, I think, like the weight distribution
on the shuttle or whatever.
Yeah, and Cassian was like, "Y'all haven't figured this out yet."
Yeah, it's like in 2 days. What the fuck were y'all gonna do if I wasn't here?
We're gonna figure it out. He's like, "The fuck you were."
Yeah, y'all was gonna get there. Y'all was gonna load all the shit up and then sit there until the Empire came and killed you all.
Oh man, yeah, that would have been.
I don't think any of them could have flown the thing either.
It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah, not to with the skill that Cassian flew.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been awful.
Yeah. So what you think about the heist here, man? About the big moment?
I thought it was great, man. And again, it just surprised the hell out of me because, like, the pacing was like adequate.
Yeah.
Again, I thought we were at least going to get like another episode, maybe 2 in between 5 and the heist. But to see us go right to the heist, I was like, oh shit, we're doing this. Okay. All right, let's go.
Right, meow.
Yeah. And what I really liked about that was that it really felt like there was a sense of urgency about it.
Yeah.
And I thought that the delivery of the heist was excellently done. Because with any kind of good heist thing, whether it be like a TV show or a movie, there's got to be the moments where you see them and they have their shit together and things are going according to plan and they are executing it the way that it should be. There's always some little snafus that happen in there, and you got to be able to course correct. And then there's the big snap. Then there's like the reveal that, hey, okay, we're doing this. And then there's the snafu, and to see how all that goes down. This was done tremendously well, I thought.
Yeah, you got was it Commandant or whatever? Was that his name? Was that his position? You can just tell he's a real asshole.
Oh yeah,
and he's also too like he's in charge of a shit post, right? Like he thinks he's this big, important Imperial whatever. He's probably somebody's like third cousin, whatever. Right. They're like, oh yeah, give him fucking Aldani. He won't be able to fucking make a problem for us out there. Move him out to this desolate ass place. And honestly, man, the heist was very well planned out and executed. And it's just kind of like Cassian said back in 3, like when they first start robbing them, the guys are like, you're robbing us?
Yeah.
Like they just can't even fathom that someone would do it or whatever. And the guy tries to like lie to him or whatever. He's like, oh, the shit won't open, He's like,
yeah, it needs whatever it's opening. And they're like, no, we know how this works.
Yeah, we know how it works, dog. Like we know we need your hand. Like, would you like us to take just that, or And they have the guys start loading up the money, and that's when like Gorn comes in, and we get this awesome reveal where he basically figures out that Gorn was behind all of it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love where he's like, they'll hang you for this, and he was like, working for you every day, I deserve much worse than that.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
That was great.
It's not without any casualties, though.
Yeah, they do lose. Well, shit. They one gets captured, right? I mean, we don't see him get killed, technically, do we?
I thought, you mean Terriman?
Yeah.
I thought Terriman got killed.
Did he? Okay, he might have.
Yeah, I think Gorn, Terriman, and Nemec all get killed.
Yeah.
So Vel, Skeen, and Cassian make it out.
Yep.
Cinta makes it out, but she doesn't she's not on the shuttle.
Yeah.
she ends up going out and blending in with the locals, which I loved all that stuff with the local like religious ceremony or whatever. Like all of that stuff was like really well done, and then the visuals on the eye itself was awesome too.
It was.
And just doing this like escape heist. I know we all hate a chase scene, but this one was awesome.
Yeah, and it's like that's kind of the thing. Like with a good heist, it does kind of need to be, kind of capped off with a satisfying heist. I mean, a satisfying, getaway.
Yeah.
So. And
honestly, like it all would have went really smooth if it weren't for like the employee of the month at the airbase over there.
Right.
Because as soon as like the shit went down, he was like, "Yeah, man, I can't hear him." Whatever, like the other employees there, just like, "Man, it must be the eye, whatever. Don't worry about it." And that guy's like, "No, I'm about to get some stormtroopers. We're about to go down there."
Yeah. Fucking overachiever.
Yeah. The Cyril.
The Cyril of this group. Yeah.
This group. Scrambled the TIE fighters. I like how they actually make the TIE fighters intimidating.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Because, they're normally just fucking cannon fodder.
Exactly.
But, nah, man, like when they came whipping through those valleys or whatever, like that shit was terrifying.
Right.
And the sound design is always so good in this show, too.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like, they sounded monstrous.
Yeah. And you got to think, like, that's what it would be like if you're on the ground, and you're not in a fucking, the Millennium Falcon or, you're not a fucking expert X-Wing fucking dogfighting pilot or whatever. Then they're probably not that scary. But, if you're just on the fucking ground, I mean,
Right.
These things are literally designed to carry out the Emperor's will. So, carpet bombing the shit out of you and your people is like one of his favorite things to do.
Yeah, nothing against you, it just happens to be that way sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, I love the scene here. Well, unfortunately, poor Nemec goes out in not a great way.
Did you see him dying the first time you saw this?
I kind of thought, I was like, he's this really endearing member of the group, so the odds are for him to kind of bite it. I also was kind of thinking, though, it's like, how are they going to explain none of these characters being in Rogue One? And then, like, as the heist went on, I was like, okay, that's how. Yeah. I did not see the Skeen heel turn at the end.
No, me either.
That shit was dirty.
Yeah, and again, like, I didn't see the kid dying, for one thing, just because I thought, okay, he's injured, but it looks like they got him stable. In these type shows, how this goes. He's gonna be hurt, but he's gonna make a full recovery. They got him to a doctor. They're gonna do the thing where he's hurt, but he's stable now.
And that doctor had 4 arms.
He got 4 arms, so he can do twice as much.
Yeah, he's a double doctor.
Yeah. I hope he gets paid well. But apparently, like, having extra appendages, like, maybe his coordination just split 4 ways.
Yeah.
And he's like, nothing I can do, man. But he bites it, and so that surprised me, but I thought that was a really good death.
Yeah, that shit, man, that had to be awful. That crunch that it made.
He was like, I can't feel my legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah, it's like probably like a bunch of his organs and his spine all got kind of compressed together.
Ugh.
Probably not a great concept.
Yeah. And with Skeen, that was definitely one hell of a heel turn that he pulled.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I didn't see Cassian just murdering him right there on the spot.
So there's a couple things, right? Like, I'm really glad they didn't do the super, like, tropey thing and have Vel get killed, and now Cassian has to, rally the troops.
Yeah.
And he has to become the leader, because that's, like, so out of character for him. Because he's so capable, but he's not, like, the leader. He's not the... He unlike Cyril, knows he doesn't have inspiring presence or whatever. And I'm glad they didn't go that route, but I loved it, man. The Cassian just killing him, because Cassian's just like, well, like, if you'll fuck these guys over for for 40 million. You'll fuck me for 80 million. You don't even like me. You knew these people. And Cassian,
oh man, I would never.
I love that, man, because that's what I would have done.
Yeah,
I would have been like, it's like in the zombie apocalypse when you like find out somebody's hiding that they've been bit. It's just like, oh, well,
like this is just a scratch dog that looks like a bite.
Yeah.
Okay, I need you to trust me on that.
Yeah, that like goo that's coming out of there, some Neosporin will fix that shit right up.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I don't even feel that bad right now.
Yeah.
I'm just a little hungry.
Yeah, I'm a little hungry. I got a fever. I ate some bread and it didn't really help none. But
yeah. Can you come here a little bit closer? But yeah, I thought that was a wild turn there.
Because Cassian's immediately like, this dirty motherfucker.
Yeah. Do you think that Vel believes Cassian any when he breaks the news?
I don't think so, man. I think she doesn't believe him, and I'm just like, dog, he, like, I understand it. Like, Skeen had her fooled. But on the same note, if Cassian was trying to, like, rob you guys, he'd take the 80 million.
Yeah, he would kill you, maybe even the doctor
He don't even got to kill them. He could just get in the shuttle and leave.
Yeah. But instead, he's like, no, I'm just taking my fraction.
Yeah, my little bit.
Yeah. And I'm paying the doctor for his ship.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the crystal back.
Yeah.
You know?
So, like with all of that, like she has to at least consider that maybe he's telling the truth about Skeen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the doctor, on the other hand, he's probably wondering what in the goddamn fuck is going on.
Yeah. He thinks Cassian's there to kill him at first. He's like, hey, man.
He's like, I did everything I could, dog.
Yeah, dog. You ain't got to do that. Yeah.
And she Vel gives Cassian what is like the
manifesto.
The manifesto, yeah.
That does come up later.
Okay.
Yeah, it does come up. So you'll get to see some of that. I love the scene here where Luthen finds out about the news.
Yeah.
The dude's like in his shop or whatever. He's like, you got anything from Aldani? And he's just like, fucking what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. What would you say?
Let me go check in the bag right quick.
Yeah.
He was ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to see him like really not control his emotions probably for the first time.
Right.
Maybe the only time.
Yeah. He was like, they actually fucking did it.
Yeah, because you got to think, man, he had so much writing on this for so long.
Yeah.
No telling how long they've been planning this. And like now, you got to figure out how to hide and spend 80 million credits without the Empire just killing everyone.
Right. You have to wonder, like, is it trackable? Is it traceable? Is it marked?
Yeah.
So like there's a lot that has to be done, right? And then I'm thinking way too much about this now, but it's like, in theory, man, if you were to like try to disperse this in the black market, you're probably gonna get if you're lucky, maybe 50 million of those credits, after it's been washed and funneled properly, and paying those fees to get that done. But I think that like more than anything, it's the fact that it hurt the Empire.
Right. It's that you drew the drop of blood from Xerxes.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with. It's like Luthen says earlier, the arrogance is like stifling. Like they can't even fathom that they think someone stole this 80 million probably to go buy a fucking mansion on on Naboo or whatever and just live out the rest of their days,
right.
As this rich motherfucker. They can't even fathom that. Number one, they stole it just to shit on the Empire, and number two, that they're going to use it to fund a rebellion.
Yeah.
It's that idea of just like nobody would stand up to us, and you're going to see kind of in the back half like these other rebel groups that are out there. It's like 50 people here and there, and they're they're not a conjoined rebellion. I mean, we even see in Rogue One, they have this crazy opening, and like most of the people are too chicken shit to even get in on it. It's like, no, this is the moment, right? We're never gonna get another chance like this, and they're like, yeah, we're out.
I meant to tell you.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah. If it weren't for like the Mon Calamari, like the only people that have any fucking intestinal fortitude in the whole fucking galaxy, then maybe it doesn't go that way. But we see just kind of like how not a rebellion this rebellion is at this point, and the Empire's so arrogant to think that they're just like, it could never be anything more than that. And so the embarrassment to them is the main issue.
Oh yeah. But it's tremendous to see it go down that way, though.
Yeah.
And so it really has me curious now, like, as to what's going to happen with these next 6 episodes. And I think, again, like, this is really good for the show that it keeps moving like this.
Yeah, it does sort of operate in this kind of series of 3s where, like, you get some setup and then payoff and then more setup and then payoff. And then I think it just kind of continues on an upward trajectory. I will say this, and I want to go ahead and warn you before you get there, is like, I hate the ending. Like
really?
Yeah, like the last couple of minutes of the show. And I hate it because it's a cliffhanger. It leaves you it just kind of cuts off when you're like, it should be another episode right here.
Wow, okay.
And so I really want to see season 2 because I've been sitting on this shit for a while. Because I think this came out in 2020.
Was it 2020?
2021?
Damn.
Something like that.
I guess 2021 sounds, that would be right.
It was 22.
Okay.
It was 22. So yeah, I've been waiting 3 years for this to see what happens. And so you won't have to wait that long. But yeah, man.
That's longer than like the Infinity War Endgame wait.
Yeah, way longer. Yeah, it's like it's literally just like a bloop.
Damn.
Yeah. But I also love it though. So, and I will say that it does escalate and escalate from here. So where the plot goes is kind of crazy, to be honest. So
shit. Well, I can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, the ISB story really kicks off in the next episode.
Nice.
Because they go full tilt crazy over this shit, as you can imagine.
Yeah. So I imagine that probably not everyone who we still have is going to make it out of this season. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some stuff and things. Some things and stuff. Some stuff and things. Yeah.
Okay, so now that does give me some more context here. Like, if it's just like a straight up cliffhanger, then that makes my original thought of season 2 being a time jump more implausible. If it's that kind of a cliffhanger.
We can talk about it more when we do the second half of the season. I'm interested to see because I recently I tried to just watch the first 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. I sat there and watched the whole fucking show because I had only seen it the once.
Yeah.
And I think I enjoyed this a lot more on my second viewing just because I knew a lot more about where it was headed and what was going on. And it was interesting that I didn't remember exactly how the pacing was. Like, in my mind, when I originally told you, I was like, we might have to review the first 3. For some reason in my head, I was thinking the heist was in the 3rd episode. And that would have made this like really crazy.
Yeah, like if I had to sit in here and like review just the first 3 episodes, I don't know, man. Be like, it's definitely one of the Star Wars shows that I've seen.
One of the shows of all time. So speaking of, man, if you had to rate it right now, based on the first 6, where you at? What you thinking?
based on the first 6, I'd probably have to give it an 8.4. 8.4 out of 10 is what I'm thinking.
That's about where I'm at, actually.
Yeah. And again, a lot of it has to do with like just the pacing of it all and some unnecessary moments in the early episodes. Just some things that could have been condensed down. I love just the grittiness of it, and I love seeing this side of the Star Wars universe, the side of the common man, the common folk. And I think that really once the show gets going and once it like really finds its footing, it really starts to take off in like a really cool way, and they do some really unique things. And again, they take some plot lines that other shows would spend a whole lot more time on. And the way the pacing was, I thought the show was going to take a whole lot more time on, but then they hit the gas on it in a good kind of way. Yeah, so I think that the 8.4 for me is where I have to stand with it. I really dig it though where it is now, and I'm super curious to see like how this show plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm really excited to review the second half with you. Mm-hmm. I think that it's definitely a lot more bombastic than the first half, and you know, I really want to see season 2 of this for a property that I didn't think I was ever going to be interested in. Yeah,
I'm going to need Disney to like be more consistent with shit, right? Because you know, you just if you go back and you look at like the entirety of the Disney Plus experience, it is a roller coaster.
You're talking about the Defenders verse being a roller coaster. This roller coaster got loops in it.
Like, oh my gosh, let's Falcon Winter Soldier, let's go. Oh man, that was it was something.
What's crazy, right, is we came out the gate. The first big Disney Plus property was The Mandalorian.
Was that first?
Yeah.
I guess it was, yeah.
And we came out the gate with that, and huge success, right? Yeah. And if you just look at all the documentaries and backstory and everything, and like the care that was put into those seasons, specifically the first 2, it's like if you guys had treated everything like that, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Absolutely.
And then I think with Marvel, I think the team that worked on WandaVision and Agatha, I think they really care. And it shows. Like even when their material may not be my favorite cup of tea, mm-hmm. The care and the detail that's put into the product shows. When you're watching this, you can tell Tony Gilroy loves every single second of this shit. Like, yeah, you can just tell that he was watching Star Wars and like this is what he always wanted to see out of Star Wars. Yeah. So he went and made the shit.
You know, like you can really tell with different storytellers a part of like their formatting process for their TV shows, for their stories in general, because you consume their stories and you get the feeling that they have answers to questions that will never even come up.
Yeah.
And that's just how much they've thought about it and just how in depth they are with the process. And I really dig when creators do things like that, when they put that much thought and creativity into something, because that means that it feels more alive that way.
Yeah.
And it feels just more real and lived in.
I think that's why all the Dave Filoni stuff feels pretty good typically. Is because he's just a complete nerd about all of it. Yeah. And you can tell he's just sitting there constantly every day just coming up with different stuff.
Right.
And you know, we also know from the Marvel side that, you know, Jon Favreau is so passionate about everything.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I think those Disney Plus subscriptions started rolling in, and I think they just went crazy. And the who was the other Disney CEO? Not Bob Iger, but the other one.
Bob Chapek.
Yeah, man. He lost his damn mind.
I'll be honest, man. Chapek, he did lose his mind, and Chapek he was like kind of thrust into a position that kind of almost suddenly opened up. But also, man, it was damn near similar to being a president. It was like you are put into the seat, and now you have to answer for all the shit that's already in motion.
Yeah.
And I mean, he had to do that for a lot of it, you know.
I think with Chapek though, man, I think he was very hands off on a lot of things. And unfortunately for Star Wars, that meant that Kathleen Kennedy was calling the shots.
Do we have an update yet about the rumor going around?
See, you would think that I would be like the most hyped person in the world about that, but like until I see an official like she's gone, I don't buy into it because there's been so many. Oh, they're gonna finally let her go. Oh, she's gonna retire. Oh, she's gonna resign. Blah blah blah. Over the years, I'll believe it when I see it. I can only hope. And like if they don't replace her with Favreau or Filoni, it's just gonna be another corporate jellyfish.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they'll be any better or worse.
Well, you know, yeah, and that is true, right? And if it is another corporate person, if the rumors are true that Kathleen Kennedy is leaving, then the odds are hopefully. I almost feel that it's better to get somebody who's more corporate than Kathleen, simply because Kathleen, she cares just about the wrong shit.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Filoni would be good in the role because he wants to be on the set doing the nerd shit. Mm-hmm. I think you put him in the role Favreau is in now and kind of let him kind of guide the process. I think you put Favreau in Kennedy's role, though, because Jon Favreau, while he is a director and a creative, he also understands all the corporate inner workings of Disney.
Yeah.
You know, he's had huge success on both of their biggest IPs.
Yep.
So
help kickstart one.
Yeah, exactly. Like he is damn near like one of the pillars of the MCU. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it would be, you know, I mean, shit. Out of all the people they could have put in Deadpool and Wolverine from the MCU, they put Happy in there.
Yeah,
you know. So I'm just saying, he did. He's a phenomenal creative, and I think that he would be excellent in that role. I also think that whoever's like right above him, but I think Kathleen reports directly to Bob Iger. So I mean, Bob Iger knows that Jon Favreau knows what the deal is.
Yeah.
And I think he would be very hands off with him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, again, we can only hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this has been the hope for a long time. But thankfully, when it comes to this specific section of the Star Wars universe, Kathleen has kind of left Tony Gilroy alone because Rogue One, I think, made like $1 billion or whatever. It did very well. Andor was very well received. It's one of the few critically well received things that they've done. And a lot of that just comes down to the fact that, you know, you can tell this is made for adults.
Yeah.
Star Wars and Marvel both have this thing where, you know, and don't get me wrong, it's people running around with fucking lightsabers and in costumes.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, like, yes, I get it. But, like, them putting the little butt face thing in Shang-Chi or whatever, like, they always got to put, like, a cute character in there or, a incompetent, funny character, you know. And
right.
Don't get me wrong, there's a time and place for that. I get it. But, you know, like, nobody hates the little robot in Iron Man. Like, that robot's fucking hilarious. Yeah. Just like B2 here is like it's such a really compelling like kind of character. But you can tell that this is primarily made for adults. You know, Star Wars. George Lucas says that Star Wars was always for little kids, but he's wrong. Like that was a notion that he had when he made Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But that was never really the case.
And I agree with that, you know. It just reminds me of a few years ago at DragonCon at the Spider-Man panel when whoever that brilliant nerd was asked the amazing question, no pun intended. He asked the question to the panelists of like some of the 6 most prolific Spider-Man creators who are still alive. Should Peter Parker is Peter Parker better off as a teenager, or do you guys think that he should grow up? and they were split.
Yeah.
And I've always thought about that since we went to that panel, because I understand the value of keeping Peter as a 15-year-old. I understand that it helps the youth relate to him more, but it's like, now you got Miles.
Yeah.
But also, so many people love adult Peter Parker, who, has his own job, a career, and has things going on for him, because now they feel like they've grown up with the character. And I guess just to circle back around to what you were saying, essentially, like, you can have both. You just have to know when to do which one.
Frank Miller presents Old Man Peter. Let's get it.
Holy shit.
I actually really want that now.
Oh,
but I need like 1985 Frank Miller. Not today Frank Miller.
Oh man, I would say, what about we can get Bendis to write it? But Bendis was one of the writers who did not want Peter to age up.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Kind of weird, right? Because Bendis to me is the one who's more willing to press on boundaries and things like that.
Yeah,
but I think also,
I guess he's also no, not to cut you off, but it's like, you created Miles, Bendis. Like, why can't Peter grow up?
Why can't Peter be like 30 or whatever?
Yeah. Weird.
I mean, I don't know. I think it. Have they ever tried like a? Well, they actually did, right? Didn't they try to do like a grown up Peter and MJ line, and it wasn't like super well received?
Well, in most incarnations now, like for a while, Peter has he's been an adult. He still is an adult.
Yeah.
But they always kind of go back to the well sometimes of writing stories where he's a kid. But he's basically been an adult, I want to say, since like 2006. So like since we became adults.
He's sitting at the computer. He's got his Starbucks.
Yeah.
He's pissed off because his stocks are tumbling.
Spider suit doesn't fit quite like it used to.
This is his only day off, and he's got to wash the dishes because the dishwasher's busted. He don't got the money to fix that shit.
Right.
And then he checks his phone, and there's like a fucking... There's some people on Blue Sky talking about a crime going on in Queens. And he's like, God damn.
Fuck
Motherfucker. It's my only day off, man. Gotta wrap this shit up, B.
God damn. Speaking of wrapping shit up, man.
Yeah, we're probably there.
We've essentially gone off the deep end yet again.
We have. But we have tons and tons of content coming up for you guys. We are in the middle of the Content Palooza. So we'll be back later this week to review episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again. That shit ain't even come out yet. We one step ahead of y'all. And then next week we will be covering the rest of season 3 of Invincible. I'm current on that, and holy shit! Talk about some fast pacing. Some shit has gone awry. Several things actually. And then we'll be right back the following week, probably to finish up season 1 of Andor. And then I think we're going to get into some Last of Us, maybe?
Get into some Last of Us. Also, the same week that we cover Invincible, you unfortunately won't be here to join us for this magnificent episode.
I will not.
But, at least myself and the homie Dylan, and perhaps the homie Oz, will be here to discuss the legendary, brand new hotness, Batman Ninja 2. Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League. So I'm sure that'll be just as amazing as it sounds. And so that'll be fun. And then, of course, also, like you said, Daredevil episode, whatever that would be.
4.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Born Again, episode 1, the largest Disney Plus premiere of all time. Wow. 7.5 million viewers. I'm like, oh, what? You guys made like a thing that we like, and then people watched it. It's crazy.
I bet you they're sitting around wondering, I wonder what the correlation is.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I have gotten a little bit of flack for that 10, but I stand by it.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people were like complaining about the CGI or whatever.
And telling them to quit being bitches.
Yeah, I'm like, I get the CGI wasn't great, but like that whole moment's not really about the fight. You know,
it's not only that, but it's like it was still very well shot.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I don't know, man. I feel like if like it's one thing to go, the CGI was kind of bad, versus like that's your Roman Empire. You know what I mean? Like you just want to die on that hill.
Yeah, and
I'm like that. So, I mean, you know what else has shitty CGI? The entire Star Wars trilogy. Like, both of them. The first one and the second one.
Yes, true. Yeah, I have seen, like, some people make similar complaints. And, again, I don't really... To each their own. I don't understand that entirely because... When again, like I love when you have weak CGI, you keep it shrouded in darkness, which they did, and also keeping the fight in the background was just, I thought, brilliant.
Right,
like the way that this thing was shot, again with the roaming camera that always keeps focused, is great. You know, like it. This wasn't supposed to be like Daredevil and Bullseye fighting in season 3 of the Netflix series, like you said last week. You know, this is about Foggy really at this point, and about the race to stop Bullseye so Matt can get down there to his friend to see if there's something he can do.
Right.
So yeah, I don't really agree with people who just hyper focus on like the CG work and not focus on like the storytelling in the moment. I feel like that just completely missed them. But hey, maybe I'm wrong.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't think that moment's about the fight, and like I said, I mean, I don't like bad CGI either. I think it's lazy. I think it represents disorganized, like kind of a disorganized manner of shooting your shit and getting it all in on time, and also just the way that these like CGI houses are treated, you know, by these big corporations, which is another problem. But you know, it doesn't take away from the story, though. And all in all, I mean, Born Again so far, you guys go listen to our review of it. We were really thrilled with it. I gave the opening episode the only 10 I've ever given.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll get another one.
Could get another one.
It could get another one.
Yep.
I've been watching back through season 3, actually.
Oh, nice.
I meant to watch it all before Born Again, but I just didn't quite get through it. But I actually just got past like the episode where they go into all the Dex backstory stuff.
Yeah.
So, man, the FBI was crooked as a motherfucker.
Dog. Yeah, when they killed old homeboy in that season, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing was rough. But like I said, guys, we got a ton of content coming, so stay tuned. Stay tuned.
You're going to see us again real soon.
Awesome.
That's going to be all for now, guys. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.